Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on lockdown Tuesday here in Melbourne. And of course, let's go up to our friends in Sydney in particular and speak to the Inner West Magpies women's football team. And of course, they've got a critical game, of course, coming up this weekend. Of course, they play against Southern Power for the 2v3 positions on the ladder. And of course, we've got two very special guest joiners right now to tell us a bit about the final game of the home and away season. Thanks both for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Will.
I'll get both of you to introduce.
Thanks for having you. Thanks, Aaron.
I'll get both of you to introduce yourselves and what position both of you play on the field.
Okay, my name's Erin Todd, and at the moment at Inner West, I'm playing down back. So I tend to go a bit rogue and get through the middle, but yeah, I do line up down back.
Toddy starts down back, but she tries to create forward for a few goals.
Certainly do.
I'm Bec Erin, and I play forward for the Inner West Magpies.
Big game this weekend. You play against Southern Power, who are currently second on the ladder on percentage at the moment. I guess, what's the approach going to this game, knowing that I think you smashed Eastern Suburbs the week before by 91 points?
Yeah, we've had quite an interesting year. I mean, the competition's been so close. And the really interesting thing for our footy club is we have a lot of new girls that have come to the team. So it's been quite a journey learning how each other play and how to gel as a team. And I think on the weekend was kind of a really good stepping stone for us in finding some consistency across the game. And I guess just starting to understand our teammates and the way we like to play. I think we're really excited coming off the back of quite a strong game on the weekend. And Southern Power has always been quite a competitive side. So they're really good at building their juniors and developing their girls. So I'm really looking forward to a good game against them.
You had you had a loss against Sydney Uni by less than a goal, and then obviously bounced back by a 1-point win against the Bulldogs. I guess, what do you take from a blowout like that where you keep your opponent to scoreless?
Oh, I thought the game on the weekend gave us a really good opportunity to just get our structures right. So obviously when you're winning by a fair bit, you can really make sure you're just getting in the right spots and sort of test out, I guess, a lot of things that we've been trying to do at training. Sometimes when the games are close, you have to play the ball on its merit, so to speak. So I think on the weekend, because we were up by a lot, we really could make sure we got to the right spots. And I guess after sort of half time, not have to worry about necessarily the result. So I think that the timing of the game on the weekend was perfect for us. Big game this weekend, almost a dress rehearsal for finals and then into finals. So I think that the timing of that game was perfect for us to really lean on our structures, lean on what the coaches were saying, get it right, and now we're away for obviously this weekend and then pushing into finals.
Now, I know it was a top 6 in finals this year, so am I assuming that obviously how important is to get at least second if you don't catch the Wolves who are currently on top? How important is that double chance if you haven't got it already?
Yeah, well, you always want a double chance, don't you, in case you sort of don't play your best that first week. I reckon you're almost better off finishing second and third. Sometimes a bye isn't what you need. You need to keep playing footy. And winning footy is good footy. So if you can get that momentum with some wins, I reckon you finish second or third and you're really looking good to set up the rest of the finals.
I think Toddy touched on it. Like I'd rather go right through the season and play, especially like when you look at the game on the weekend. Coming off the back of that, it does give you a lot of confidence and it just does push momentum. So the break, and I think all the final series I've played in AFL, we've never had the break. So I've kind of really enjoyed that. It's gotten us a lot of momentum going forward. And the more footy under our belt, particularly in a year where we haven't played as much as what we have in the past, I'd be looking to play as many games as we could.
Now, by looks of it, you've your team and I guess everyone else in the competition has played each other once because of the shortened season. I guess how have you found this year in regards to playing everyone once and especially having a very shortened season because of the pandemic?
I think it's just made every game so important. And we played Manly in the Pracky match, and we had a really strong game, and I think we ran away with it by half time. Whereas during the season, a couple of weeks ago, they did the same to us, and the game pretty much dusted by 3/4 time. So not being able to play each other twice, I think it makes you a little bit nervous for when you play against that team next. More so because teams have come in and out of form so much over the past couple of weeks, and you can see that with the result. Like the top 6 teams are so close. So there is definitely a couple of teams that I do wish we could have had a couple of games against them throughout the season. But I mean, I guess we'll just take it as it comes for the rest of the season.
I guess I think the season started, was it late July or mid to late July this year because of the pandemic. Were both of you optimistic that you were going to get a season at all?
Oh, I think we've actually had some conversation amongst ourselves every week about, gee, I hope we can play this week. So I don't think we were necessarily, maybe when we first kicked off in July, I think we were pretty confident we'd get a season. And then obviously there's different reports coming out each week as to where we're at generally in everyday life. And I think there was a couple of times we were a bit worried that we might get called off. So I think probably someone mentions it every week. We're really lucky to play footy this weekend, so let's make the most of it. So I think I think we've worried a couple of times. So if we can get through the season, we'll be doing a good job.
I definitely got on the phone to Toddy a few weeks ago and you better not be serious. We better be playing this weekend. We're lucky we are. Yeah, we've you never know, but I've always prepared like we're playing it. I think that's how we've thought about it as a team, just regardless of kind of what's going on around us, just preparing for what's next and going from there.
Now, tell us a bit about your team and especially maybe a couple of players we should watch out for that doesn't get recognised a lot.
Yeah, look, I'm going to talk the backs up. It's my responsibility to stick with my line. So I think we've been really solid down back this year, and massive shout out to our fullback, Monty. I don't think she gets beaten one-on-one. She hasn't been beaten one-on-one yet this season. She's always down there talking to a lot of the girls, making sure, as I mentioned earlier, I tend to like to sort of run off and I guess energize, so to speak. So, but it's because of players like her that I can have confidence in doing that, because she's really solid back there. So I think, you know, that's somebody who I think goes massively under the radar for Inner West, and she has been very, very solid for us this year. And as I said, never gets beaten one-on-one. So that's my shout out for the back line.
Yeah, well, look, like we're really lucky. We have a lot of talented players who have been involved. Well, I mean, Toddy, and you look at Toddy, you look at a player like Ailish, who haven't been around footy for a long time, but are good athletes and really competitive, and have had their chances, you know, being part of the Giants train-on squad. So those girls coming in have been so crucial for us in terms of building a foundation. But for me, my shout-out would have to go to Freck, so Mel Freckleton, who was on the Giants list a couple of years ago, and she's been probably the Inner West Magpies' best player for a number of years. And, I mean, we do like a player's player at the end of every game, and I can never look away from voting for Frex just because of the way she plays for the team. She just plays such a team-orientated game. And she just – I just think she always goes unrecognised. She's moved more into a half-back role this year instead of playing as much as she has previously through the midfield, but I think it's allowed her to definitely get her body right and let her be consistent throughout the year. So she's always the one that throws her body on the line, cops a hard hit, makes that smother that no one else wants to put their head over the ball for. So she might shout out in terms of go unrecognised.
Now, is there any of the youth players in the team to watch out for future years to come there in the West?
Yeah, I think that our kids are like a big part of what's going on this year for sure. We've got a whole bunch of young players coming through. I don't know if you watched the game on the weekend, but Ella took quite a few good intercept marks, and her hands have been great all year, to be honest. And Maddie at the start of the year, and there's a whole bunch of young girls. Laura Marshall as well. So I think West are really building something even in the juniors, and you can see those young girls pushing through now.
Yeah, we got such a strong junior program as well. We've got Ace and Mickey, who have been around the club for a number of years coaching those girls, and Frex as well. So they're building a really strong foundation going into the future. It's really exciting to watch them play. And we've had a number of the girls come in and out of the side over the past couple of weeks, and it's really exciting to watch how much they're progressing and building into some really solid footy.
Mm. Now, for both of you, how did both of you get involved in footy? I'm assuming both of you are from down here in Victoria, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Toddy and I are neighbours.
That's right.
Growing up in the, I grew up in the northern side of Melbourne. But yeah, I grew up playing. I played Auskick. Obviously played down in Victoria for a solid 14, 15 years. Made my way through the junior ranks and then went on to VFL to play for Darebin and Eastern Devils. So that's kind of my story. It's not very exciting. I just grew up loving footy and always wanted to play it. Toddy's got a bit of a different journey than me, though.
Yeah, I grew up in Melbourne too. So as Priv mentioned, not far. My folks are still in Eltham. So I grew up in Eltham, and I'm actually a basketballer originally. I don't want to give my age away because I'm a bit older than Privy, but when I was a kid, there really wasn't any girls footy around. So I played basketball. Obviously, Victoria is a very strong basketball state, and I ended up in Sydney through basketball. So I played probably close to 10 years in the WNBL, and then I retired. And as you heard earlier, had two kids. And when I was, I think, pregnant with the first season of the AFLW. And for me, like there was no real looking at women's footy at all when I was growing up. So that was really exciting to see. But personally, I just thought, oh, well, I'm a bit old for that now. I've started a family. I went on and had a second. And by the time I had the second, Elle McConnell gave me a call and said, why don't you come down to training? Which I proceeded to do probably incorrectly 5 months post-baby and got run around the park way too much. And here we are, still there today. So this is really my first season of football. So I think I've played under 10 games. Well, how many have we played this season? Maybe 7, 6. We played 8. So I think I played 3 games last season in the winter series for the Giants. So I've reached double figures. It's good. So yeah, but yeah, that's right. So bit of a different journey for me. But yeah, it'll be, I guess, very different for someone like my daughter, who will very much have the option to play pretty much whatever sport she wants, which is cool.
Now, what does the sport of footy mean to both of you, and especially being there in a West Magpie?
I guess footy for me, like I've always loved playing footy. I've definitely had my ups and downs with it over the years, particularly as you go to a higher level and playing AFLW. But I think over the 12 months, the one thing I kind of came back to was a reason I started playing was because I loved it. And it was something that I shared with my family. And it's been something that my whole family's just loved watching. I mean, we grew up Richmond fans. We grew up going to the footy every week, and it was something that was pretty special, particularly to my dad and I. So I've always come back to that reason as to why footy does mean something really special and close to me. The thing I enjoy the most about playing at the Inner West Magpies is one, I've only been at the club for a year, but I think the moment I walked into the club, I just felt so valued and welcomed by everyone there. And the girls that have been at the club for such a long time have built a really strong culture. And I think that's where the family aspect comes back to it, which is why, for me, it was such a driver in wanting to play at the club. So coming back to Sydney footy, you kind of get to enjoy your footy a little bit more and just get comfortable playing. And yeah, like I said, as soon as I came to the Magpies, that kind of felt like home for me. And being a Melbourne girl in Sydney at the moment, That's pretty important for me to have that really strong connection, and footy being such a big part of my life as it is. Having those group of girls has just been so important for me, and I'm really loving my time there.
Yeah, I guess for me, as I mentioned, I didn't play any junior footy. But as a Victorian, I was a very passionate football follower. My family have deep roots and with the Fitzroy Football Club. So where I'm still a mad Brisbane supporter. If my husband allowed it, I'd watch every game of AFL I could over the weekend, but it's not allowed. So I get in as many as I can before I get into trouble. But I guess for me, football was more about getting back into competitive sport. I think I need that outlet personally.
Very competitive.
Yeah, I'm sure a few people can attest to that. So it was just really nice to be able to come back and I guess compete in a sport that I hadn't played, which really did take an element of pressure off. I think when you grow up playing a sport and then you play it professionally, there's a lot of pressure around it in the sense of you know what you're getting and you know what you need to do to perform. But for me, this was new in the sense that I had to learn, but it's such a good sport to compete in because you can play really hard and you can compete really hard. So it's been a totally different experience for me, but Inner West Maggies are amazing. And that's my first football club. So it's my only club experience. So I'm really grateful to them, the coaches, but also the players. As Privy mentioned, they're very accepting of new people. And it's been really just great to get back to a club, play with a group, train together, and I guess try and achieve something. And I think we're building at the moment. So it'll be exciting weeks.
Anyone that should get down to Waratah Oval this day to support the Magpies playing against Southern Power. What would be your advice to them to get down there and support the mighty Magpies this weekend?
Yeah, I guess for me, I just think it'll be a really good game. It's two teams that want to win and probably need to win for momentum and going into the finals, but also to secure their, I guess, position on the ladder by the end of the season. So I think it's going to be a really high-quality game, first and foremost. And for the Maggie supporters, obviously, get around the women's team because I think, we're really building some good momentum. So come out, we'll be hoping to have a big win and then really set up our run into finals.
Yeah, the fact that as a Cronulla girl, playing close to home is always very exciting. There's a lot less travel involved, although I'm actually moving this weekend. So I'm moving further away from Cronulla, which means one home game I'm further away from. Waratah Oval is always my favourite ground to play. Yeah, as Toddy said, they've been such a great, consistent side for a number of years. They've always kind of sat, they've either just missed out on finals or just squeezed in. So, and for the Magpies, I don't think we've played finals for a number of years. So I think it's a very exciting game leading into what will be a very exciting final series.
Now let's finish off with a couple of lighthearted questions about your team. Firstly, who had the most embarrassing moments during a lockdown or during the season so far?
I think if my goal kicking is anything to go by, I reckon that was pretty embarrassing on the weekend. 4 goals, maybe 8. Don't know.
You're still going to take 12 marks to line up for that many shots. So, let's look at the positive there.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I don't know either. I don't. I'm trying to think. Someone must have done something silly. No, I've got nothing.
I know one. Logie is an Irish girl, and she's only played maybe 5 or 6 games of footy, and I think it was one of her first games, but there was a goal kicked, and somehow the ball was kicked by the umpire or whoever was behind the goals, and she just looked at the ball like, is someone going to get that? What happens next? And I was in tears on the field because she had no idea what was happening. So after the game, we had a good laugh.
Oh. Who's the comedian in the team?
Comedian.
Mickey.
Yeah. Yeah,
Blue dad. Yeah. Loves a good dad joke. It's actually to the point where I don't know if she's serious or if she's joking. So definitely Mickey.
That is true.
Yeah.
Best singer and dancer in the team?
Oh, T. Easy. I'm pretty sure her song just made the what is it? Double J's list. Is it Double J? The Unearthed. Yeah, Triple J Unearthed. So she's just made number 1 on that list or something. So I don't think we can go past T. Unless Toddy has a hidden talent that we don't know about.
Oh, I think my dulcet tones aren't suited to sing. So.
Does the team have a pre-game song to hype the team up? If so, who runs that playlist? And what's the worst song on it that hasn't been played after it had been played?
Well, Jill's trying to set up a playlist for this weekend, isn't she? So, and I think Ailish has suggested a song, and without even knowing what the song is, surely she's got the worst taste in music. I just have a feeling.
I know the Irish girls have put a few songs on there too, so maybe pre-game Irish dancing. We'll wait.
We might need to bring our cordless headphones, Prove, and just listen to our own music, I think.
I was going to say, let me know how that goes on the weekend. Now we'll finish up with 2 final ones, which is now during the lockdown, did the team do any challenges throughout that lockdown?
There was that the toilet paper one. The one where everyone handballed the toilet paper or kicked it in the same direction of the screen. We definitely had that one going, but yeah, I don't think we had anything else. Do you know if we had anything, Toddy?
No, I had challenges homeschooling 2 kids, so I was like, I was way too deep for any fun challenges.
And we'll finish off with this one last one, which is now during the COVID situation, have either you got a hidden talent that you didn't think you had prior to COVID?
No.
Nah.
No, I work at home every day, so
yeah,
it was a bit boring for me.
Privy and I like to stay in our lane. We don't like really go too far outside the box. We just keep it simple.
I've had a guitar sitting there for God knows how long, and I reckon I've played it 3 times. So I keep saying that's going to be the one thing that I learned, but I just never do.
Now, of course, I forgot to ask this question. I'm going to ask it now as the very final one. Now, obviously, with both of you being Melburnians, obviously now based up in Sydney, do you have a message to your former fellow Melburnians who's stuck in lockdown?
Well, that's a tricky one. I think, like both of our families are in Melbourne, and it would be easy to sort of, I guess, throw out a few jokes there. But I feel for them. Like it's tough. No one wants to be in lockdown. Everybody wants to get out and about. So I think it looks like the news is pretty good that you've only got a couple of weeks to go. So I guess my message is just push through, end is in sight, and then hopefully, everybody can sort of get back to normal life. We've been really lucky up here. I haven't felt that we've been too restricted. Obviously that initial 6 weeks was like huge for small business and a whole bunch of people and families. Going into that second round of lockdowns, my heart went out to everybody in any situation, whether that meant that you're at home by yourself or you're at home with your family or you are homeschooling or working from home or you've lost your job. I just think it's been a really tough time. So I think it's, good for us to see that the end is in sight for you guys.
Yeah, I think Toddy summed it up. I guess the other one is like, I've got a lot of family and friends that are still in Melbourne, and I've always put it out there that they can always have a chat to me if they just want to kind of debrief and, kind of get about what's going on at the moment. I've always passed that message on. So just looking out for those guys and hope they're doing all right.
Well, both of you, thank you so much for getting up your time to join us. It's awesome having both of you on the show. Please send our best wishes to your teammates for us, and we'll be definitely supporting the Inner West Magpies this weekend in a critical match for yourselves to hopefully at least get to second spot if you can't get top spot on the ladder, and let's hope you can bump the power to third spot on the ladder by the end of this weekend.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No worries, and that's Bec Erin and Aaron Todd there from the Inner West Magpies women's football team. Of course, if you're in Sydney, make sure you get down there to Waratah Park and support the mighty Inner West Magpies against the Southern Power this Saturday at 3:45. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away here on a Lockdown Tuesday.